Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving straight into a massive public spending controversy unfolding right now in Bihar. It's a story that takes a completely mundane, everyday object and somehow turns it into a multi-crore headline that has absolutely taken over the news cycle. Today, we're going to break down the math, look at the official government defense, and really examine the broader systemic issues at play here. Let's get right into it.
All right, let's kick things off with a number that immediately demands your attention. 1,000%. Yep, you heard that right. That is the staggering price surge allegedly slapped onto a simple item we all use every single day, the humble dustbin. Now, when public funds are being spent, taxpayers rightfully expect normal market-aligned pricing. But this specific procurement by the state health department has raised massive red flags precisely because of this absolutely exponential markup.
So what is actually going on here? To understand the core allegation brought forward by the political opposition based on RTI documents, we have to look at the prices. A standard 75-liter plastic dustbin generally has a market value of around 1,000 to 1,500 rupees, yet these procured hospital bins, somehow earning themselves quote-unquote VIP status, were billed at a massive 15,490 rupees each. You kind of have to marvel at a piece of plastic becoming elite, right? And it doesn't even stop there. Standard 45-liter bins, which are normally worth about 700 rupees, were reportedly billed at 11,000 rupees apiece.
And looking at this just brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the discrepancy. Comparing that 1,500 rupee market baseline directly against the 15,490 rupee billed price makes the math painfully tangible. I mean, it's one thing to just hear the numbers, but seeing that tenfold jump really highlights why everyday taxpayers and journalists are asking so many tough questions right now. Put simply, you could essentially buy 10 standard bins for the exact same price the government paid for just one.
As you can imagine, a price gap like this triggers a massive political response. The opposition, particularly RJD leader Rohini Acharya, really spearheaded the viral backlash on this. Her quote here perfectly captures the public sentiment driving the controversy. She stated that in Bihar, even the dustbin has become VVIP, pointing out that while the dustbin is small, the bill has been made 10 times bigger. She, along with a bunch of other critics, directly questioned the state's leadership, including Health Minister Mangal Pandey, asking whether these bins were actually meant for garbage or if they were just a brand new trick to empty the government treasury.
Okay, let's zoom out from that unit-level markup for a second. Because when you multiply an extra 14,000 rupees per bin across various state hospitals, those small individual markups compound into an absolute avalanche of suspected public exchequer loss. We're looking at estimates starting from an initial 300 crore rupees, potentially scaling up to over 600 crore rupees. So we are no longer just talking about slightly overpriced plastic, we are looking at a massive financial footprint on the state's entire health budget. Section 2. The Government and Bureaucratic Defense. Now, to examine this completely impartially, we have to look at the official response. The state government and the Bihar Medical Services and Infrastructure Corporation Limited, or BMSCIL for short, have strongly rejected these scam allegations. They claim these are absolutely not your average, simple retail plastic bins. According to officials, these are strictly specified, high-tech, hazardous medical waste containers. They describe them as part of a specialized biomedical waste microwave system. They argue the bins are heat-resistant, microwave-compatible, feature extra thickness, utilize high-quality materials, and come with added mobility through wheels. Plus, the defense claims that the 15,490 rupee price tag isn't just for the physical plastic itself. It reportedly includes long-term maintenance, transport, logistics, and installation across all these hospital sites. Section 3. Market Baseline Data.
Well, the best way to test an official defense is to run an objective reality check against actual, current commercial data. According to the Steel Shakti 2025 Commercial Cost Guide, even if we grant the government's claim that they needed highly specialized items, the numbers are still pretty revealing. A standard biomedical waste hospital bin typically ranges from 1,500 to 8,000 rupees. Even massive 660-liter industrial dustbins with wheels max out around 15,000 rupees. So even the absolute top-tier certified medical-grade hospital bins usually cap out well below the 15,490 build rate we're seeing here. This commercial baseline data really keeps the pressure on the department to justify that lingering gap.
To truly understand the gravity of this whole situation, we need to bring in a fundamental economic concept: opportunity cost. Simply put, this is the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. When you're dealing with a strictly limited state budget, an inflated expense in one area means a direct, painful loss in another. It's what anchors these abstract multi-core numbers to the real-world impact on everyday citizens.
And here is where it hits hard. According to local journalists and investigative reports, the purchases for these overpriced bins, worth hundreds of crores, were reportedly paid using funds that were originally earmarked for essential hospital medicines. This is where the story shifts from just being a weird procurement anomaly to a potential public health crisis. The real opportunity cost of a 15,490 rupee dustbin is the vital medication that a patient in a state hospital is now having to go without.
Section 4. Systemic Procurement Flaws. Expanding the scope of our investigation, we find out that this is, unfortunately, not an isolated incident. Identical procurement inflation issues have recently surfaced in several other urban local bodies, including places like Siwan, Khagaria, Saharsa, and Supaul. We are talking about millions allegedly lost in similar tenders, and not just for dustbins, but also for municipal LED screens and high-mast lights. In the Siwan Municipal Council alone, there was an alleged 6.9 crore rupee anomaly just for dustbins, and that came right on the heels of a nearly 3.9 crore LED scam. There's a very clear recurring pattern of tender irregularities happening here.
Let's actually break down exactly how these systems are manipulated. Using that Siwan case as our blueprint, we can trace a step-by-step bypassing of standard municipal rules. Step 1. The tender was rushed and published in just 7 days instead of the legally mandated 10. Step 2. It was hastily grouped with a completely unrelated proposal during a meeting. Step 3. When the tender was finally opened, shockingly, no technical officer was even present in the room. And Step 4. The entire multi-crore procurement completely bypassed the District Purchase Committee. It reveals a deep, structural vulnerability in how administrative oversight is handled.
So how do we fix this? To address leakages of this magnitude, just patching individual holes isn't going to cut it. A complete systemic overhaul is required. Policy experts emphasize that the primary systemic fix needed here is the implementation of strict, mandated Comptroller and Auditor General, or CAG, audits across all urban local bodies. Without this kind of top-down financial oversight, the pattern of inflated tenders and bypass committees is likely to just keep repeating itself from one municipality to the next.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Looking at the sheer scale of the math, the diverted medicine funds, and the entirely bypassed administrative rules, we have to ask ourselves, do complex technical specifications genuinely justify these exponential cost spikes, or do they merely serve as a convenient smokescreen for inflated tender margins? Understanding the true cost of public procurement transparency has never been more vital. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep asking the tough questions.